This is member-supported, your classical Minnesota Public Radio, 99.5 KSJN Minneapolis, St. Paul, sharing the power of classical music.
This month, from your classical story time, the tale of a very little lady and a set of selfish suitors trying to whisk her away to matrimony. It's a story about the freedom to choose your own fate, one with its share of talking animals, magical flowers, and a fearless heroine no bigger than a thumb. Listen to Thumbelina at yourclassicaLMPR.org or wherever you get podcasts. It's supported by the Minnesota College Savings Plan.
There is more information about the music you've enjoyed this afternoon. Now this evening, you'll find the playlist at our website. Go to yourclassicaLMPR.org. 75 degrees for overnight, 98 predicted for tomorrow with bright sunshine.
So your daughter played softball all the way through high school?
She played up until high school, yeah, then she went on a travel team, and then
I'm not sure if the web stream's working right now, but everything else is working, so
she was done.
I'm not sure why.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm calling the Monday, June 13th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. First item on the agenda tonight is the approval of tonight's agenda. Do I have any requests for changes to the agenda? Entertaining a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor and a second from Commissioner Kirk. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Moving on, we have the minutes to approve from the meeting held on Monday, May 9th, 2022. Do I hear any requests for changes or concerns with the minutes as drafted? Entertaining a motion to approve the minutes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion from Commissioner Gooding. Do I have a second?
I'll second those.
And a second from Commissioner Farr. All of those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are passed. We have one public hearing this evening. This is for Tricam Industries. This is a request for a planned unit development concept review on 3.24 acres. Planned unit development amendment on 3.24 acres. Site plan review on 3.24 acres. Will the proponent of the project please come forward? Good evening. If you could state your name and spell it for a record, and do you have a PowerPoint tonight?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes,
then walk
I
us
do.
through that, please.
I'm Ryan Schrader, RyanSchroeder with Plan Forest Architects, and we're here on behalf of Tricam. And how do we get the PowerPoint started? Oh, there we go. So Tricam Industries, long-time business within Eden Prairie, wants to do about a 2,500 square foot building addition to expand their office space within their current facility. They will remain the sole tenant of this project and be office and warehousing, which fits with the current zoning. So they specialize in the design, engineering, marketing of such products as ladders, garden carts, stools and ladders. They are also doing a stormwater storage facility to help with the infiltration and runoff from their site, as well as enhanced landscaping. And they do need to add another delivery door for some small parcel pickup and deliveries that have changed over the years. They have a new business need for that as well, in addition to the office space. So tonight we're requesting approval of the site plan, as well as we're looking for a waiver to our PUD in regards to parking count. This is the existing site plan. As you mentioned, we're about 3¼ acres. We conform with all the existing setbacks. The addition would also conform with the existing setbacks on the site. In general, the parking layout will remain the same as it is today. We are eliminating a couple parking stalls for the drive-in door that we need to add, but we are adding those back in another part of the site. So the addition will happen in the southwest corner of the existing building. There's a current notch in the building there now, and a front patio is located there. That patio is underutilized and has been identified as the best place for this addition. So we will be removing that, putting a new building addition there, and utilizing that as the main entry to the building. Here you will see the key items identified on the site plan. The addition located in yellow, the added parking stalls in the orange color, the water infiltration in the dark blue, and the regrading and enhanced landscaping on the east side of the plan in green. So as part of this, we will be doing some regrading just at that patio portion as well on the east side of the lot. They currently have some, during heavy rain events, they have some water infiltrating into the building, so we want to regrade that and get the water out of there a little bit quicker. As part of that, we're also doing the infiltration basin on the west side of the lot to help with the runoff. Here is the proposed site plan. All the existing utility locations are going to remain the same. All of it, as I said before, the setbacks are within what is required for this zoning district. In addition, we're meeting all the landscape requirements. We are removing some trees to make this addition happen, but we're adding back more than we're taking out. And we have a highly enhanced landscaping plan along both the east and the south sides of these buildings. As we mentioned before, we're looking for a waiver to the PUD count for this site. We're looking to retain 54 stalls on the site based on base zoning ordinance. The requirement is 79 stalls. Based on the business practices of TRICAM, they do not require that many parking stalls to house all of their employees. So we're requesting that the required parking count be 54 stalls to match their need. The addition is meeting the zoning ordinance with the majority of the building being brick and glass. We do have a very small amount, less than 3% of the addition being accent materials of composite wood and aluminum composite metal panels. We're using multiple colors of brick, both charcoal gray and a lighter gray tone. And we are also looking at color coding portions of the existing building to be more in those gray color tones instead of the existing brown colors that it is now. And that would also be a two-tone color as well on the existing building. And here's a look at the proposed palette for the addition of the integral color brick, the two-tone stain just below that for the existing building, the composite wood that will be going around the soffit material of the new building, composite metal panels, and the black storefront. And here is the site plan. The floor plan for the building, as you can see, is we're utilizing for office space, additional workstations, private offices, and meeting rooms. And here are the elevations, which we are depicting what we just saw in the model.
Is that the last slide?
That's it.
All right. Thank you. Any initial questions for Mr. Schrader?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Just a real quick one, as long as this slide is up. Oop, it just went away. There we go. The bottom elevation is that west elevation where you're putting that new drive-up door on the left there. When you go out there now, there's a kind of a pattern on the brick wall for relief of proportion and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Could you explain the new staining that you're doing to recolor the building and how that'll affect the patternization of that west wall now?
So on that elevation that we're currently talking about, which is the bottom elevation here, our current plan is we're proposing to bring that stain only back to that vertical element that we're seeing about 1/3 of the way from the right-hand side of the building. The rear 2/3, we're currently planning on keeping the existing coloration.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions right away? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie, will you lead us through the planner's report?
Yes, sir. The applicant is requesting a PUD concept review and a PUD amendment with waivers, as well as a site plan review in order to construct about 2,500 square feet of additional office building on the existing property. The zoning and comprehensive plan do allow for this use. There are no proposed changes to either the zoning or the comp plan for this site. The building materials and the landscaping standards are met and exceeded by code requirement. The applicant is requesting a waiver for the parking as was outlined in his presentation. The parking that is provided will exceed the amount of employees on the largest shift, and the applicant has stated that based on business need and the fact that many of their employees are now working a hybrid model, they don't have the same parking demands that the code would require. So they are seeking that waiver. Staff did work with them and explore several alternatives on site for, proof of parking areas or areas where additional parking could be provided. And after exhausting those reviews, it was determined that they would request a waiver in order to provide the parking that as much as they can on the site. Staff is recommending approval, subject to the conditions that are outlined in your staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Julie. Questions for the city? Mr. Chair, Commissioner Farr, sorry, bunch of legal questions. Where's the PUD district? I see that there's an obvious shared access agreement between the property to the west and this property, the shared driveway and drive aisles and loading dock circulation, things like that. So is the PUD larger than this lot, would be the first question.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my understanding is that there are several PUD layers, if you will. So this part of town, there was a historic PUD that encompassed quite a larger area. And then as individual parcels came in for development, it's quite common that individual properties or groups of properties may be part of a single PUD. In this particular case, there is a cross-access easement that allows for that to exist.
Okay, so in your description of the PUD variances and waivers that we'll be talking about tonight, those are lot specific. They don't have any other implications, legal implications over any other property owner, despite some of these shared access and ingress easements.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, yes, the PUD waiver that's being considered tonight would be specific to this parcel, and the development agreement would reflect that because the legal description would refer only to this property.
Great, thank you. So then, regarding then the applicant's position as tenant, and you said this is a tenant-landlord relationship, the owner of the property is different than the tenant. Are the approvals tonight accruing to the benefit or the hindrance of the owner after the tenant leaves, or do they expire upon the vacancy of this tenant?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, when the PUD waivers are approved through an ordinance and then reflected in the development agreement, the developer or the applicant, in this case TriCam, will sign the development agreement, but the property owner will also be required to sign an owner supplement. So the development agreement will run with the property. So if the tenant were to leave the property, those waivers would still remain in force and effect for the next tenant that would occupy the structure.
Okay, so that's a really important point for us to understand, is that the reduced parking that this tenant has is perfectly reasonable for this tenant, but the owner would be rolling the dice if another tenant has to come along, if these people leave, that they'd have to release the building to someone with a similar occupancy, or else there could be a parking shortage, potentially.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, as is the case with any PUD waiver that is granted as part of a development project for the city.
Yep, great. Okay, just wanted to make that point clear to everybody.
Other questions for the city right now? Okay. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward and speak for or against this project, please do so now. I'm not seeing anyone coming forward. I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move to close the public hearing.
Motion to close. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second. All those in favor of closing public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, public hearing's closed. Further discussion?
I would compliment Commissioner Farr on bringing up the point of the parking. That's the one thing that was in my mind a little bit as well about the parking waiver following for future tenants. And so I think that's important to me, not a showstopper by any means, just making sure it's clear to all of us, and I think this is, in my mind, pretty straightforward. I support it.
I think this is an outstanding uplift to the building. I think it's a great enhancement. Driving by the building, it's well screened from the public way, mature landscaping, tall berms. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to just keep the value of the property up and keep the tenant in Eden Prairie.
They are adding more trees and correcting the ADA parking issue, which is great.
Yep, improving drainage to boot. So, yep, accessibility and all that stuff. So I think they're checking a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, and I would just say it's great to see the growth that TRICAM is looking to potentially continue as well in Eden Prairie, and appreciate you coming forward with this. I think it's a good project.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move to recommend approval for a planned unit development concept review on 3.24 acres, planned unit development amendment on 3.24 acres, and a site plan review on 3.24 acres based on plans dated May 2nd, 2022, and a staff report dated June 13th, 2022.
Motion from Commissioner Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Second for Commissioner Gooding. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And did anyone want to abstain? Okay, great. Moving on, Julie, planner's report.
No, sir.
All right, any members' reports? All right, entertaining a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion adjourned. Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, I have a second. All those in favor of adjourning say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Nicely done, Mr. Chairman.
I went on the tax law.
Those first questions are killer.
Gardens, and more. Health and wellness opportunities are an important part of the weekly programming with regular fitness classes, health and nutrition lectures, and safety seminars. The community workshop is another special feature in the senior